Miss Newly Shaved Natalie here. Let's get real. I'm a chef, and me and Abby cook a lot in the van. That's what we spend a lot of our time doing. But during this pandemic, we wanted to get a little bit smarter about how we prepare a meal. So this van life quarantine video is focused on cooking a low-cost meal using mostly non-refrigerated, long-lasting pantry items while also conserving stove fuel and water. Check it out.
So we had to leave our last camp because we ran out of water.
Let's go find water, babe!
But we found a water source, filled up, stocked up on groceries, and found another camp where we could spend the next few weeks.
So if we want to respect the CDC's guidelines of staying in place, we can't really leave camp so often to drive around. So we have to get really creative about when we do go to the store, how much we stock up so that we don't have to move as much.
Yeah. So stove fuel has really been an issue for us. We should point out that our Dometic Origo 3000 stovetop takes denatured alcohol as a fuel. It's a clean burning fuel. Really awesome, but difficult to find. We were in California for a while and realized that that state has prohibited the sale of denatured alcohol. And then we were in Mexico for 3 months. Didn't find it there. So for 4 months, we couldn't find our fuel. We crossed back over the border and went to find it, only to realize that this pandemic has caused everyone to buy up all alcohol everywhere to be used for cleaning. Yeah. So because of that, we like to try to conserve our fuel as much as possible and make it last.
So I'm going to focus this video on cooking the meal mostly over an open fire, which I enjoy anyways. It saves us fuel, but it's one of my favorite things to do at camp is to make my own fire pit and to explore more with cooking that way. So I wanted to show you what that's like. So the low-cost, fuel-efficient meal that I decided to make is going to be creamy coconut black-eyed peas with Puerto Rican fry bread, slaw by Abby, and I'm going to make some fire-roasted umami tomatoes to go on top. So we're using dried beans. Dried beans are really cheap, and they last a long time. Me and Abby are making half the bag. That's probably the equivalent of like 2 cans of beans, which you can use. We eat too much. So they've been soaking for probably about an hour. If you're going to do dried beans, it's best to do it overnight to soak. But since I'm doing it in the pressure cooker, it doesn't quite matter that it didn't go too long. I'm going to go ahead and salt them as well. Typically, I would wait to salt them if I'm going to do it in a regular pot because it actually will keep the skins hard. And I'm going to do quite a bit. You really want to get the flavor in there. So right now it's just going to be salt, water, and beans. We're going to cook these for probably about 30 minutes in our Instapot. And then afterwards, when I put the beans on the fire in the cast iron, I'm going to add the flavor and the coconut milk and all that stuff. So, yep, so we're going to hit pressure cook 30 minutes. Right, Abby? Abby's the bean cooker here.
Yeah.
30 minutes. And just let it go. All right, sweet.
And why do we love the Instant Pot?
We love the Instapot because it takes a lot less water. It's under pressure, so it's not steaming or evaporating out the water if you do it on the stove, which would take a lot of fuel. And yeah, we have plenty of solar right now, so it's definitely something we can use. And then you don't have to do anything. That's it. You just hit start.
Set it and forget it.
Set it and forget it. So in here I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I finally found flour. You guys need to stop buying all the flour. Quit acting like you make bread now. Anyways, so it's very simple. It's just flour, a little bit of salt. I don't really quite measure anything, but I would say about a teaspoon of salt to 2 cups of AP flour. A teaspoon of baking powder. Mix all your dry ingredients. I'm going to add a cup of coconut milk from my coconut bowl. Boom. I also added a little bit of annatto, which is more of a coloring than a flavoring. And then I added a little bit of habanero sugar, just a little bit to spice it up. And then I'm going to mix it all together. And that's really it. I'm going to knead it only for a couple of minutes and then let it rest. We'll make little dough balls and then we'll fry them in the cast iron over the fire. So this is an all-vegan meal, which works out great for us since there's a meat shortage in the pandemic. But that doesn't affect us anyways because we eat plant-based. and I guarantee you won't be missing any flavor. So for my coconut black eyed peas, I'm going to also be putting sofrito in there, which is basically a Puerto Rican Latin secret ingredient or base to any cooking. All it is bell peppers, onions, garlic. I'm also using a hot pepper, tomatoes, and cilantro. Typically I would blend all of this in my Vitamix, but I imagine most people don't have a Vitamix. So I'm going to cut it all by hand. That's perfectly fine. I'm just going to cut it all down, chop it in almost to a puree. The lovely thing about this is you can keep a lot of these ingredients out, cilantro not being one of them, but if you puree it, it lasts a lot longer, and then I can put it in the fridge and use it as I need to for soups, rice, whatever, and flavors everything that me and Abby make, so it's one of my favorite things. So I'm going to chop all this up, and then, yeah, we'll have it ready for the beans. So with all the scrap from the vegetables that we had, I save all the skins and I make my own vegetable stock. It's cheaper. I mean, we have the vegetables, so why not? And typically it's just water. I fill it up, a little bit of salt. I can do it in the crock pot. It takes like 5 minutes in there, or boil it over the stove for 10 minutes. Strain it, and then you have veg stock. And you can flavor anything with it. And then when we're done, I take all the scraps that we use to boil and we bury it as compost. So no waste. And very efficient, and yeah, why not? Okay, so I have the fry bread dough setting. I got the sofrito is done. Beans are almost done. We're gonna let them cool a bit. While that's going on, I'm gonna get my tomatoes ready for the fire. So I'm gonna just do 2 tomatoes since it's just me and Abby. I'm gonna use a half a bulb of garlic. Skin on is gonna go into the foil with it. So I'm gonna make my own marinade. I've got paprika, salt, pepper, liquid aminos, which is a soy sauce substitute, Bragg's apple cider vinegar, a little bit of olive oil, maple syrup, a little bit of liquid smoke. This is Abby and I's secret ingredient for vegan cooking to get that bold flavor, and then a little bit of dried porcini powder. I'm gonna mix all this together, and then that's gonna get poured in with the tomatoes. Wrap that, and then it's gonna go on the fire. Okay.
Natalie is not the only cook in this van. I love to cook as well, and I'm going to be making us a slaw to go with our dinner tonight. So the slaw is going to be super simple. It's just purple cabbage, cilantro, and blood orange to add a nice fresh crunch to this decadent meal. We love to eat fresh salads and have a nice fresh crunch to our meals. So we really love cabbage because we can keep it out of the refrigerator, just hanging in these mesh bags, and it keeps for a long time. I mean, we have it everywhere. It's ridiculous.
Cabbage, anybody?
Slaw's ready. It's cocktail hour, and I'm going to be making a Sicilian mule. Not a Moscow mule, Sicilian mule, because I'm going to be using blood oranges instead of lime.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
What the beep? Oh my god.
I know, it's a tragedy. bartender. That's lovely, Vinny. It's the best I can do.
I don't have a rolling pin, okay? I don't bake like that. This is what I got. But it works. It works if you work it, so work it.
Use what you have on hand.
I've got these stones on the inside of the fire pit right here where I'll put my cast iron. So I make the fire a little bit off this part right here. And that way when the coals start to break down, I can move the coals over and then set the cast irons on top. And then I leave this open so that I have room to get in there. Yeah, and dig a little bit of a pit so that the oxygen can flow through it. I'm letting all the small sticks break down, and once that starts making coals, then I can start adding the bigger sticks and then just maintain the fire. But I want coals so that I can keep the cast iron cooking even heat as much as possible. I've had a lot of time to perfect this. So tomatoes are in the fire. I moved some of the coals onto the rock that I'm gonna have where my cast iron's gonna be. The tomatoes are just right there in that little pocket, so they have enough heat coming through. And they're just gonna slow simmer for like 20 minutes until they're blistered and the garlic just pops out of the skin. It's gonna be good. Yo, wow. Let's see here. That's what you want, baby. We're gonna let them go a little bit longer. Almost. Oh. 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 Yes. Ew. Everything's going awesome. This is what I love to do. You can make a whole meal in a fire and not waste any fuel with low-cost ingredients that last a long time, and it's fun. It's primitive, and I get to be out in nature at my campsite. You can't beat it. I can't complain about my quarantine.
Natalie,
What?
what is that?
What's what?
That little dinky piece. What is
Dinky
that?
Doodle?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just what I had that I didn't roll so efficiently with that olive oil bottle that I was using. You know, you
Look
cut
at that.
What? You cut the dough out, you gotta use every bit.
What is that?
You know we're gonna eat it. Stop. Don't play.
I love you so much.
I love you.
By the way, you have 2 taste testers looking over your shoulder.
Aw. Maybe. Maybe you'll get a little bit, huh? They smell it.
Oh. Oh, Mama loves you. How is it, buddy?
It's great. It's nice. We like it so much. I love it, Mama.
Hey, where's mine?
Oh, true.
What about me?
So there you have it. Sicilian Moscow, Puerto Rican fry bread, coconut cream black-eyed peas, a simple slaw, and some umami tomatoes. That's all you need.
I'm so excited.
So yeah, you can definitely make an efficient meal during quarantine. Doesn't have to be boring. Not everybody likes to cook, but, you know, get creative with it. If anybody's interested in the meal that I made, I don't really write recipes, but if you slide in those DMs, I'll show you how to make it inside, instead of the fire. Catch you next week!